What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube series. This is our online SEC Dynasty. This is our second video, and we actually got through the first 4 weeks of the season, so we're going to go through everything that happened in those 4 weeks and give you all an update. The first thing we're going to do is look at games here in week one. We see that LSU defeated USC 57-35. Garrett Nussmeier had 4 touchdowns and 1 interception in this game. Josh Williams was a force on the ground for the LSU Tigers as he had 137 rushing yards with 2 touchdowns. Mason Taylor, the junior tight end from Plantation, Florida, almost with 200 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. And then defensively, they had 3 interceptions in this game, led by Major Burns, who also had a touchdown for LSU. Moving on to the next game we see here, user control game, Kentucky versus Southern Mississippi. Kentucky is in a close game versus Southern Mississippi. 19-16 was the final score. There's nothing really worth showing stat-wise, but Brock Vandegrift did have a passing touchdown, and defensively, Zion Childress did have an interception with the takeaway for the Wildcats. So not a big game for Kentucky there. But moving on, Auburn just clears Troy 70-21. Peyton Thorne leading the way. And what is surprising about this is he had a 91% completion percentage in this game. He completed 91% of his passes, 21 for 23. Pretty good game for him. So he was leading the way, 4 passing touchdowns as well. Jarquez Hunter had 3 rushing touchdowns and over 100 rushing yards and 100 receiving yards for the Tigers. And defensively, the Tigers had a total of 3 sacks in this game. So overall, they just played really well and beat Troy 70-21. The next game that we want to look at is Arkansas-Ohio State. Arkansas with the huge upset over Ohio State, winning 78-53. Taylon Green, the quarterback for Arkansas, finishes the game with 7 rushing touchdowns, kind of looking like Lamar Jackson for the Razorbacks here. And then receiving-wise, Andre Armstrong had almost nearly 252 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Defense was an issue in this game for Arkansas as they were unable to stop Ohio State most of the game, but ultimately their offense pulled away in this one. Brings us to our next game, which is Tennessee and Houston. Tennessee wins a close one over Houston, 35-27. Nico Iamaleava had 3 interceptions in this game, but Dylan Sampson carried the team with 139 rushing yards and a score. Squirrel White also had 179 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns here in week one. Defensively, the team was really good. They finished with 5 sacks on the day total. So overall, a really good win for Tennessee. The offense could be a little bit better, though. And that brings us to the next game, Ole Miss at Kansas State. And Ole Miss pummels Kansas State 84-28. It got so bad they went ahead and brought their backup quarterback in Austin Simmons. They brought their backup quarterback in game 1 of the season. So Jackson Dart, Austin Simmons both got a little bit of playing time today receiving. Both tight ends, Caden Prescorn and Hudson Wolf, finished with over 100 receiving yards for the team. Defensively, they finished with 4 interceptions, 2 which were returned by Trey Amos for a touchdown. So just all over a really great game for the Ole Miss Rebels. And we can see the trend continue in our next game as Missouri beats Boise State 87-35. Missouri just continuing the SEC dominance here in week one and their win over Boise State. Brady Cook had 9 passing touchdowns and 622 passing yards. So 9 passing touchdowns. 6 of those went to Luther Burden Jr. or Luther Burden the third, and the other 3 went to Theo Weiss Jr. The defense finished also with 4 interceptions in this game, all to different guys. So just a dominant win by Missouri there. And the trend just continues again. In our next one, South Carolina nearly drops 100 on Colorado State, taking the game 92-35. Lenore Sellers had 8 touchdown passes, 6 of them going to Nick Carver, who also had 412 receiving yards, and the defense finished with 6 overall takeaways, 2 interceptions from O'Donnell Fortune. So just a crazy win by South Carolina. Brings us to the next game, which is our in-state rival with Miami, the University of Miami, and at Florida. And Florida takes care of their in-state rival, winning the game 51-10. We heard rumors in the offseason that DJ Lagway would start for this. We do see that Graham Mertz got the start, and he got the job done with 4 passing touchdowns. He's spreading them all out to different receivers, 4 different receivers with a touchdown reception. And Montrell Johnson Jr., the running back, also had 3 rushing touchdowns in this game. Defensively, sophomore Jordan Castell from Orlando, Florida, returned an interception for 103 yards for a touchdown. So overall, just domination in the SEC here in week 1. We see that Alabama beats Iowa 38-17. Justin Haynes was the main guy in this one, 144 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and that was really it. Jalen Milroe didn't do too much. Defense wasn't too great in that one. Texas A&M, this is where it starts to get closer. Texas A&M wins a close one against Notre Dame, 45-42. This is Peach's first game with the Aggies, and they had here in week 1, a thunder and lightning combo of Reuben Owens and Le'Veon Moss. Their running backs combined for 262 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Even the quarterback had 22 rushing yards and a touchdown. So Texas A&M in week 1 just ran all over the field on Notre Dame and squeaks by with the win. The only SEC team that lost in week 1 was Vanderbilt, who lost 45-42 versus Virginia Tech. It was a close game. They played better than what many would think that they would. And Eli Stowers was really their best player in this one with 89 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in the loss. Now on to week 2. Arkansas continues their dominance with a 109 score to 66 against Oregon. Taylor Green in this one finished with a total of 11 touchdowns, 5 passing and 6 rushing for him in this one. And the defense finished with 4 interceptions. And Hudson Clark returned 104 yards for a touchdown, as Arkansas just kills Oregon 109-66. Auburn in their next game, coming off their 70-21 win versus Troy, they continue to dominate with a convincing win over Clemson, 47-20. Peyton Thorne again had 3 touchdown passes and completed over 60% of his passes. Jarquez Hunter still showing himself as a elite receiving back for the Warhawks with 125 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. And then the defense sacked Cade Klubnik 8 times, total of 8 sacks for Auburn in this one as they win 47-20 over Clemson. Missouri played Louisville this week. It was a nail biter. This game went to 3 overtimes, and it really came down to the last play when Missouri's junior defensive back Toriano Pride Jr. knocked the ball out of the receiver's hands in the end zone on Louisville's 2-point conversion. That is what ended up winning them the game. Brady Cook, again, 10 touchdown passes in this one, and 3 of them going to Mookie Cooper and 3 going to Nate Noel as well. Seeing our next user-controlled game, LSU breaks record for most points scored in a game in team history. They defeated Nevada 122-7. Only thing that could have been better would have been shutting them out, but Ricky Collins came in early in this game to sub in for Garrett Nussmeier, who both had 3 touchdown passes. And running the ball, Josh Williams added on another 4 rushing touchdowns, adding to his 2 that he had in week 1. The defense was phenomenal, had a total of 5 sacks and 7 takeaways in this game. So LSU just dominated Nevada throughout the game. Moving on to our next game is a little bit of a surprise. BYU gets the upset versus Alabama in week 2, winning 49-42. Not much to go on really here. Jalen Milroe had 3 touchdown passes. The running game was good. It's just the defense could not keep up, and BYU got by with an upset. Ole Miss, Middle Tennessee State. Ole Miss continues their dominance, winning 56-28 in week 2. Jackson Dart was not looking the best in week 2 with 4 interceptions in this one, just compared to 1 touchdown pass. But it was all work for Ulysses Bentley IV, who finished the game with 29 carries, 320 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Defensively, Princely Iamaleava had 5 sacks in this one. So the defense stepped up, the running game stepped up. Jackson Dart was a little bit off, but they still get the win versus Middle Tennessee State. We see another upset here as NC State beats Tennessee by 6 points. Nico Iamaleava throws another 3 interceptions in this one. It's not something you want to see from a young quarterback, and that's a total of 6 interceptions over the first 2 games. And you got to hope that he can get it together and get it figured out if you're Tennessee football or if you're a Tennessee football fan. Week 2, Kentucky quiets the attack from South Carolina, winning the game 57-32. These were both user-controlled teams. Brock Vandegrift had 5 passing touchdowns, connecting with Barian Brown 5 times, who also had 265 receiving yards. Defensively, they had 6 interceptions in this game. It's really was the difference in these 2 teams. And on the other side of the ball, for South Carolina, Lenore Sellers only had the 2 touchdowns, only completed 12 passes out of 23 attempts, only 2 passing touchdowns going to Nick Harbor. Who else would it be? Our next game, we see that Florida takes easy care of Florida International, 86-31. We do actually get to see DJ Lagway in this game just a little bit as he throws 3 touchdown passes. But what was the huge difference in this game? 7 rushing touchdowns for this Florida offense. And then even defensively, freshman LJ McCray, freshman from Daytona Beach, Florida, had 4 sacks in this one. And Florida just takes easy care of Florida International. Vanderbilt gets a close win over JMU, 47-43. Nate Johnson had 4 passing touchdowns in this one. and 2 rushing touchdowns in this one as well, as they move to 1-1 on the season. Texas A&M takes on in-state rival Texas Tech, and they win that game 83-38. As Connor Wiggan tosses 6 touchdown passes in this one, compared to 1 interception. And defensively, the team finished with 2 interceptions in the game, one from Will Lee III and the other one from Chance Johnson. Brings us to our Week 3 play, as South Carolina and LSU play in a close game, but South Carolina comes away with the win, 56-46. Garrett Nussmeier had 4 touchdowns, but threw 6 interceptions in this one. Defensively, they finished with 5 interceptions, so it wasn't much better on the other side of the ball. But ultimately, LSU was just unable to stop Nick Harbor, who had 5 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. And we're starting to see early on through 3 weeks that he is one of the best receivers in college football, and someone that we'll have to continue to watch throughout the rest of the season. Moving on to our next game, Vanderbilt wins another close game versus Georgia State, 57-49 in this one. The main thing for them was Quincy Skinner Jr., who had 375 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. Defensively, Martell Height from Rome, Georgia, had 3 interceptions for 90 yards. As a sophomore, that's something that you like to see, something you can build upon. And Vanderbilt should be really happy with that play from their corner there. Moving on to our next game, Ole Miss loses a close game to Wake Forest on the road, losing 49-46. Jackson Dart played a little bit better in this one, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, but the defense just was not able to stop the Wake Forest offense. Only finished the game with 1 sack, no turnovers, so just unable to stop the offense of Wake Forest. Up next, Alabama bounces back after a tough loss to BYU by defeating Wisconsin 33-14. Again, Jalen Milroe only with 1 passing touchdown. Running the ball, Justice Haynes had 108 yards for 3 touchdowns. So he's really been the main guy for them. And he's only a sophomore too, so it'll be interesting to see how he develops overall as well. Arkansas wins a semi-close game against Notre Dame, winning 65-52. Taylor Green finished with another 5 touchdowns, 2 passing and 3 rushing in this one. Yes, Sategna had 208 receiving yards and a touchdown, and defensively, they had 4 interceptions in this game, as they win by 13 against Notre Dame, who now has lost 2 games this season, both to SEC teams. Next up, we see Kentucky absolutely kills Georgia for the upset, winning 83-31. Brock Vandegrift had 8 passing touchdowns in this game. 6 of them went to none other than Varian Brown, who also had 605 receiving yards. And defensively, we see 3 sacks from Keyshawn Silver, the redshirt junior. And the team also had a total of 3 interceptions in this game as well. In this next game, we see that Auburn was on upset alert most of the time in this game versus Texas State, but they came out on top 42-38 in the final 17 seconds of the game, as we see Peyton Thorne throws it deep to Cam Coleman for the game-winning touchdown. And it was a huge game for the freshman, who finished with 8 catches for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. Missouri defeats Cincinnati 66-59. This game was not as close as it appears, as Missouri was up 45-21 at the end of the third quarter. They just let Cincinnati get back into it a little bit later on in the game. We see here Brady Cook had another 6 touchdown passes. He also had a rushing touchdown, and Luther Burden leading the way with 246 receiving yards and 5 touchdown receptions. Tennessee bounces back and handles Kent State with ease, beating them 47-28. It appears that Nico Iamaleava has gotten through his nerves of the first 2 games, as he tosses 5 touchdown passes here in week 3. And defensively, we had an interception from Boo Carter, as Tennessee handles Kent State, winning the game 47-28. User-controlled teams. Texas A&M defeats Florida 43-33. This game came down to the wire. As we see on this play, Florida is in scoring position with a chance to take the lead with about a minute to go, but just a poor decision by Graham Mertz there. He gets picked off by sophomore Dalton Brooks, and he takes it to the house for a 92-yard pick six. Connor Wingman also added 3 touchdown passes in this game, and Texas A&M gets the win 43-33. Florida opens up week 4 with a close win over Mississippi State, as Florida continues to ride with Graham Mertz behind center at quarterback. He throws 3 touchdown passes in this game, and Devin Moore finished with 2 interceptions, and Jason Marshall Jr. also had an interception in this one. South Carolina takes on Akron, beats them 59-20 to improve to 3-1 on the team, as Lenoris Sellers throws 7 touchdown passes in this one. 7 touchdown passes and 1 interception. Raheem Rocket Sanders ran for 136 yards and another score. And Nick Harbor continuing to dominate this year with another 411 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns in this win over Akron. Kentucky drops 106 on Ohio, as Brock Vandagriff throws another 10 touchdown passes for Kentucky, 7 of them which go to Berrien Brown, who also had 561 receiving yards in this one. They got 3 sacks from their junior Deion Walker, and a total of 7 interceptions from this Wildcat defense. Auburn and Arkansas played a close game, with Auburn getting the win 46-42. Taylon Green in this one had 6 interceptions in this game. Jeremiah Cobb was leading the way for Auburn's ground game. He had 139 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns for the War Eagles. Defensively, Kagan Lee had 4 interceptions as a sophomore for Auburn. So he was just all over the quarterback, and he had a really good game. A&M defeats Liberty pretty easily, 63-20. Weigman continues his clean play with 5 passing touchdowns, compared to 0 interceptions on 84% completion. Moose Muhammad the third and Donovan Green both finished with 2 receiving touchdowns in this one. Noah Thomas had 1. And so just a great overall game. Connor Weigman's been playing really well this year, completing his passes, just playing careful. And they're 4-0 now. Texas A&M is moving their way up. In this next game, we're going to see Ole Miss defeats Georgia Southern 42-21. As Jackson Dart throws 4 touchdown passes, and 2 of them to the senior Jordan Watkins in this one. Now, we got an upset here. Vanderbilt defeats number 2 ranked Missouri. And not only do they defeat them, but it was the upset of the century, dropping 100 points on Missouri. Nate Johnson had 4 touchdown passes and 2 rushing touchdowns in this one. Defensively, they pressured Brady Cook really well this game, as Brady Cook threw 9 touchdown passes, but also threw 7 interceptions. Missouri's defense was not able to stop the trick plays from this Vanderbilt offense, and the only good thing for them in this game was Luther Burden, who finished the game with 404 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. So it was a bad loss for Missouri, as they were ranked second, but Vanderbilt is feeling pretty big, knowing that they can still compete. See that here that LSU defeats UCLA 56-14, as they had 3 rushing touchdowns from their sophomore running back Caleb Jackson. Mason Taylor also had 2 receiving touchdowns, as he is one of the best tight ends in the SEC right now. And defensively, Harold Perkins Jr. had 3 sacks in this game. And the last game for week 4 is Tennessee at Oklahoma, and Tennessee kills Oklahoma 63-28. Nico throws another clean 5 touchdown passes. That's 10 over the last 2 games with no interceptions. After starting off a little wobbly his first 2 games, he's thrown 10 over the last 2 with no interceptions. Caleb Hearing, the right end from Newman, Georgia, who's a sophomore, finished this game with 5.5 sacks for this Tennessee defense. So overall, it's been an interesting couple weeks. The thing that I would hate the most in saying is that my Missouri Tigers lost to Vanderbilt when we were ranked second, but it happens. We're going to go take a look at, over the 4 weeks, what happened, where everybody is ranked. We first see that Texas A&M jumped from 5th to 3rd in the top 25. Kentucky came from 12th to 9th. Tennessee jumped from 16 to 10. Ole Miss from 14 to 12. Auburn from 18 to 15. Alabama 17 to 16. LSU 19 to 18. And Missouri drops 17 spots from 2 to 19. And that rounds us out in the top 25. Missouri's going to have to climb their way back up, and it starts this week against Northern Illinois. I'm going to take a look right quick at some injuries that we want to show to you guys, some injuries that affect our team. There's really only 2 main ones. The first one is Florida. Florida's got 2 guys that are injured, and that may affect them. First one is Austin Barber, who is a left tackle, pulled groin. He's going to be out for about 2 more weeks. And then their starting running back, Montrell Johnson Jr., has a hamstring tear, and he is going to miss the next 5 weeks, majority of SEC play. So we'll see how that affects Florida, how that affects the way that they look at their offense without one of their offensive linemen or without their star running back. And then the other team is Ole Miss. They're the other team that has a injured player, and their injury is to Logan Diggs. He's got a dislocated ankle. He's going to be out for 9 weeks. He may miss the rest of the season as a senior. Not sure if he'll be able to come back on a medical leave or not, being out 9 weeks as a senior. He's already played 4 games, so we'll see how that happens, if he's able to come back this season or not. Now we want to go take a look at the season stats for the SEC. Just kind of seeing who is where, how the guys are doing, who's leading what statistically, who's struggling, who's performing well, and kind of look at all that. Just from the SEC, we're not looking at the whole nation right now, just for our conference. And as we see here, Brady Cook leading the SEC with 2,484 passing yards and 34 touchdowns. So Brady Cook's leading in both passing yards and in passing touchdowns. The most interceptions is Lenoris Sellers, who has 12 interceptions. Taylor Green has 10 interceptions in this one. And the best completion percentage, we're not counting Ty Simpson because he's completed one pass for 1 yard, but would be Connor Wiegman, who has completed 82% of his passes. So there's the passing stats. Running the ball, the most we see is from Ulysses Bentley IV. He leads the SEC with 670 rushing yards. Taylor Green, the quarterback for Arkansas, leads with the most touchdowns with 17. Nate Johnson has 8 fumbles, the most fumbles out of anybody in the SEC, the quarterback for Vanderbilt. Receiving, we have 3 guys who are ways above everybody else, and those 3 guys are Barian Brown, Nick Carver, and Luther Burden III. Barian Brown is leading with the most receiving yards by about 300, and he's tied with Luther Burden III for most touchdown receptions. And then right behind them is Nick Carver with 17. But these are the top 3 guys. And, Barian Brown's a junior. He could come back, or he could go to the draft. Luther Burden III, he's a junior. He could come back, or he could go to the draft. And Nick Carver, he's got to wait at least another year before the draft. So they're going to be in good hands. South Carolina is going to be in good hands for the next couple seasons. Defensively, most tackles in the SEC is tied between Xavier Sorey Jr. and Keenan Peely. The most tackles for loss is Kyle Kennard. He has 14 tackles for loss. Caleb Hearing is leading sacks as he has 10 sacks for Tennessee through 4 games. And then interception-wise, we have 5 from Zy Alexander and 5 from Zion Childress. They both lead with 5 interceptions. And Zy Alexander has the most touchdowns here with 3, and Trey Amos is behind him at 2. So when we get closer to the end of the season, we're going to start looking at some mock drafts and see where some of these guys are going to go. We'll probably start it in week 7. Week 7, we'll look at the first round mock draft. Week 11, we'll look at draft rounds 1 through 3. Week 14, we'll look at 1 through 7, and then right before the draft, we will look at all 7 rounds again. But so you just have to keep an eye on that. Next thing we want to look at right quick is recruiting. And with recruiting, there's a couple different things we want to talk about. Not everybody has commits right now. Some of us do, some of us don't. Looking at user-controlled SEC teams only. Auburn here, they are adding the big guys on the line. They got a 3-star right tackle in Parker Vanover, ranked 660th. He's 6'7", 285 pounds from Leesburg, Georgia. They also added 3-star right tackle Dion Ogletree, who's ranked 871. He's 6'6", 314 pounds from Bull, Alabama. And then they got 3-star left outside linebacker Devin Slater, who is ranked 1,461st, and he's 5'11", 236 pounds. Tennessee got a 4-star quarterback in Sam Maponga. He's ranked 273rd. He's a 6'4", 195-pound quarterback from Concord, California. And then they got a 4-star middle linebacker in Zach Crum, who's ranked 366. He's 6 foot, 234 pounds from Dyersburg, Tennessee. LSU's up next. They got a 4-star free safety in Pat Copper, who's ranked 106th. He's 5'10", 192 pounds from Kentwood, Louisiana. And then they got a 4-star quarterback in Derek Cole, who is ranked 229th. He's a 6'3", 209 pounds from New Orleans, Louisiana. So a lot of these teams are staying in their own state, getting guys. Look at my team, Missouri. We got a 3-star middle linebacker in Duke Buck. He's ranked 663rd. He is 6'2", 221 pounds from St. Louis, Missouri. And then we got a 3-star right outside linebacker in Leon Jeffers, who's ranked 1,924th. He is 6'2", 236 pounds from Charlotte, North Carolina. Ole Miss, they got a 3-star wide receiver in Dylan Corey, who is ranked 1,565th. He is 6'5", 210 pounds from Benton, Mississippi. He is a big wide receiver. And then they got a 3-star athlete in Paul Exum, who is ranked 1,718th. He's 5'11", 182 pounds from Jackson, Mississippi. Arkansas has a 4-star left guard in Stan Kuhn, who is ranked 430th. He is 6'5", 329 pounds from Magnolia, Arkansas. He is a big dude, 329 pounds. And then the other team that's got to commit so far is Texas A&M. 3-star right end Eric Gaskin, ranked 613th. He's 6 foot, 240 pounds from DeSoto, Texas. And he is a good size for a defensive end. So that's recruiting right now. These other teams, Florida, Kentucky, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Alabama, don't have any commits just yet. But we'll keep y'all updated on that as well. Next, the last thing we want to do is look at week 5 and look at the schedule and kind of give you my prediction for the games. The first one we're going to look at is 3-1 Arkansas at number 3 ranked Texas A&M, who is 4-0. This is going to be a good game, and I do think, however, that Texas A&M is on a roll right now, and I think they have a much better defense than Arkansas's offense, mainly when it comes to turnover differential. Yes, Arkansas defense creates more turnovers, but Texas A&M has only turned the ball over once in 4 games compared to Arkansas's 10 turnovers in 4 games. So my prediction for this game, I think Texas A&M takes it at home, winning 45-35 in this one. The next one, we've got 2-1 Georgia, who's ranked 7th, going to Alabama, who's ranked 16th, who is also 2-1. This could very well be a trap game for Georgia. How they are ranked 7th after a blowout loss to Kentucky is beyond me. But Alabama has not been able to really get anything going in the pass game this year, as they are tied for dead last with Mississippi State in passing touchdowns in the SEC at 5. So I expect Georgia to bounce back and get the win, and I think Georgia wins this one on the road 35-21. Next, we see 1-2 Northern Illinois going to play number 19th ranked Missouri, who is 3-1. After a devastating loss to Vanderbilt last week, I fully expect Missouri to bounce back and get the win. I don't think Northern Illinois' defense has the weapons to be able to contain Luther Burden and Brady Cook in this offense. But then again, this is their 5th straight game and the players are tired, so we don't know what could happen. My prediction, though, is I think Missouri wins 49-14. We see 2-2 South Alabama going to play number 18th ranked LSU, who is 3-1. LSU has been on a roll all season. They lost a close one a couple weeks ago to South Carolina. They dropped 122 points on Nevada in week 2, or week 1 or week 2. So they should be able to handle South Alabama with ease. I think LSU wins this game 56-3. Next game we see 4-0 Kentucky, who is ranked 9th, going to 12th ranked Ole Miss, who is 3-1. There's no question that defenses have not been able to stop the Brock Vandegrift to Barry and Brown connection so far this year. But that could change this week with this stellar Ole Miss defense. They have guys on the front line who's going to get to the quarterback. They have a secondary that are going to, play hard against the receivers. So I think this game's going to be closer than what most people think it will be. But with that being said, I do think Kentucky gets it over the edge and wins 28-24 on the road. And lastly, we got 14th ranked Oklahoma, who's 3-1, going and playing 15th ranked Auburn, who is 4-0. Auburn's played a lot of close games this year, but they're rolling at the right time. And after Oklahoma's blowout loss to Tennessee last week, everyone should be picking Auburn to win here, and they should be picking them to win by a pretty good amount. So give me Auburn 42-13 over Oklahoma. And that is where we're going to end the video today. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for being a part of the series. Let me know what you want to see more of. Do you want to see more recruiting stuff? Do you want to see more of the scores and schedules, conference standings, players of the week, Heisman watch? What do you want to see more of? Do you want to look at the season stats for the whole entire country? Let me know what you want to see more of. But we appreciate you guys following along, being a part of this. If you haven't yet, like the video, leave a comment, subscribe, and share with somebody. And we appreciate your support, and we hope you guys have a great day.